Also, guys, we're going to try to begin on time in just a minute here. After statements, and we also will be providing information in Spanish as well. We'll start on the right side, move questions to the left as we've been doing. We'll try to get to every single one of them. That was Brenton Weber, right? Brent, B-R-E-N-T.
I got the local cancer. Nothing will get away.
Yeah.
Better though, don't move it.
Y'all want to move down?
Go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, good morning. How are y'all this morning? Let me bring you an update on the events that occurred yesterday. We had a breach of a secondary containment wall on the north side of the tank farm. The location of this breach was near tank 80-7. The breach was approximately 10 feet wide. Some of the liquid behind the containment wall remained behind the barrier, but some did escape. The escaped liquid was made of a mix of the product from the tanks that burned in the fire, firefighting foam, and water from our firefighting efforts. The cause of the breach of the containment wall is not yet known. Some of the liquid released from the breach was contained in the ditch adjacent to the containment wall. Some of the liquid from the breach escaped out to the ditch and into Tucker Bayou. Efforts are underway to remediate Tucker Bayou. The release of the product caused elevated VOC levels, prompting a shelter-in-place recommendation for our industrial neighbors and for the Battleship of Texas and the San Jacinto Monument State Park. In addition, the Coast Guard closed a portion of the Houston Ship Channel from Tucker Bayou to the San Jacinto Monument to Crystal Bay. At approximately 3:45, a fire in 3 of the tanks reignited. The tanks that caught on fire were 80-2, 80-3, and 80-5. At the start of the incident, 80-2 and 80-3 contained gasoline blend stocks. Tank 80-5 contained xylene. This fire spread to the liquid that had escaped through the containment wall breach into the adjacent ditch. Firefighters immediately began spraying water and foam on both fires. The fire was extinguished at 4:45. The containment wall breach is secured. Efforts are ongoing to strengthen the repair portion of the containment wall. We are conducting a survey of the remaining containment wall. We have positioned additional firefighting foam pumps around the containment area. These pumps will allow us to apply a higher volume of foam quickly should the foam barrier be broken. Moving forward, we continue to monitor VOC levels. We measured intermittent VOC levels in the industrial area close to the site of the fire. Our community monitoring programs generated no levels of immediate health concern. When the containment wall was breached, the efforts to pump out 80-7 were suspended. When we are sure that the repaired wall area and the containment is fully strengthened, we will resume pumping operations. We have trucks in 2 locations, that's vacuum trucks, to remove liquid from the containment area and are pumping to secure storage tanks. Brent Weber will go over our operational objectives for the next 24 hours. We do have an interpreter who is going to interpret what I said before the mayor starts speaking.
Gracias, muy buenos días. Voy básicamente a decir en español lo que la señora Alice Richardson acaba de comentarles en inglés. Permítanme informarles lo que sabemos hasta esta mañana. Ayer por la tarde tuvimos una ruptura en un muro de contención secundario ubicado en el lado norte del patio de tanques. La ubicación de esta ruptura es cercana al tanque 80-7. La ruptura de aproximadamente 10 pies de ancho. La mayor parte del líquido que se encontraba, o una parte del líquido que se encontraba detrás del muro de contención permaneció detrás de la barrera, pero alguna parte escapó. El líquido que escapó estaba compuesto por una mezcla de productos de los tanques quemados durante el incendio, espuma contra incendios y agua que se utilizó para el combate al fuego. La causa de la ruptura de este muro de contención aún se desconoce. El líquido liberado de la ruptura estaba mayormente contenido en la zanja adyacente al muro de contención. Parte del líquido proveniente de la ruptura escapó de la zanja y entró en el Tucker Bayou. Se están realizando esfuerzos para remediar el impacto en el Tucker Bayou. La liberación del producto causó niveles elevados de COV o VOCs, como se conoce en inglés, lo que provocó una recomendación de refugio en el lugar para nuestros vecinos industriales en el Battleship, Texas, en San Jacinto Monument. Además, la Guardia Costera cerró una parte del canal de navegación de Houston desde Tucker Bayou hasta el monumento a San Jacinto en Crystal Bay. Mientras se trabajaba para reparar la ruptura, aproximadamente a las 3:45 de la tarde, se presentó un incendio en 3 de los tanques. Los tanques que se incendiaron fueron el 80-2, 80-3 y 80-5. Al comienzo de este incidente, los tanques 80-2 y 80-3 contenían una mezcla de componentes de gasolina. El tanque 80-5 contenía xileno. Este fuego se extendió al líquido que había escapado a través de la ruptura de la pared que contenía la zanja adyacente. Los bomberos inmediatamente comenzaron a rociar agua y espuma en ambos incendios. Los incendios se extinguieron a las 4 de la tarde con 45 minutos. Se aseguró la rotura del muro de contención. Se están realizando esfuerzos para fortalecer la porción reparada del muro de contención. Los ingenieros están realizando una revisión para evaluar el estado del resto del muro de contención. Hemos colocado equipo adicional para bombear espuma para extinción de incendios alrededor del área de contención. Si llegase a ocurrir otro incendio o a romperse la barrera, estas bombas prontamente ayudarían a aplicar un mayor volumen de espuma. Ahora, viendo hacia adelante. Seguimos monitoreando los niveles de compuestos orgánicos volátiles o COVs o VOCs, como se conoce en inglés. Medimos los niveles de manera intermitente en el área industrial cerca del sitio donde ocurrió este incendio. Nuestro programa de monitoreo comunitario no generó niveles de preocupación a la salud de manera inmediata. Cuando se rompió el muro de contención, se suspendieron los esfuerzos para bombear el tanque 80-7. Cuando estemos seguros de que el área reparada en el muro de contención está totalmente reforzada, reanudaremos las operaciones de bombeo. Tenemos camiones vacíos, camiones para aspirar, en 2 ubicaciones para eliminar el líquido del área de contención y la zanja, y estamos bombeando a un tanque de almacenamiento seguro.
Good morning, I'm Brent Weber, Incident Commander of the incident, and I'd like to cover the objectives for today, next 24-hour period. Due to the setbacks yesterday where we were in more of a proactive mode, we've had to transition from proactive to reactive to stabilize the site. And the focus of the Unified Command today over the next 24 hours is to transition back from reactive to proactive. And at a high level, our main objectives today are maintain safety, and that's for the workers inside the terminal, our industrial partners, and our community. The second thing is to do some remediation of the ditches, the waterways, Tucker Bayou, starting the ship channel. And then lastly is to resume product removal of the material in the tank farm into primary containment vessels. So that's our objectives today, and I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Mouton.
As I've addressed each of you since this incident has occurred, every time I'm going to do it again and through the duration of the event, I would ask all of you in this community to keep these first responders in prayer. There's a lot of planning going on, but as each of you should understand on a personal level that everything doesn't always work the way it's planned. And in this situation, it's been a never-ending reoccurring of attempting to do something and it just not working out the way it's been planned. From my perspective, every day that I've been before you is to address one main concern, and that's public safety. I'm out here every day, multiple times a day, asking them questions to make sure that everything that can be done is being done. So from my perspective as the mayor of Deer Park, I'm asking the same questions that all of you in the media are asking to address the first and foremost that everyone has in this region, which is the concerns we have for public safety. Every time I've come out here, it's just caught me off guard at the people I've been interacting with, the responders on the scene. I had one of the incident commanders from Harris County come up to me last night, who's been here since the beginning, and in his attempt thanking me for what I'm doing, which I don't feel like I'm doing a whole lot in the reality other than just trying to make sure we ask the right questions. And when it got to a certain point, he said, "No, I mean thank you, because my brother lives in Deer Park." And it kind of made me realize the collaborative effort that's going on right here today is everybody out here is doing the best they can. I can assure you, to the best of the understanding that I have, the resources that are available in this region and in this state are here, and they're trying to address every situation to the best of their ability. I was here yesterday and left right before the dike broke and was at Harris County Emergency Management. So I spent most of the afternoon over there monitoring the situation from there. And I can assure you, I am asking the questions to make sure is everything that can be done. And to the best of my ability, I'm here to tell you it is. So until we get to the conclusion of this scenario, every day I'm going to come up and ask you to continue praying as we support the people who are trying to make this situation lacking for words, but let's just say mitigate the risk. We don't want any more risk to the impact of our public than is necessary. And when it occurs, they're doing the best they can to respond to it. So it's a very fluid situation. Keep everyone in prayer, and we'll continue this update and get some more reports from everybody here, which I'm getting every day. And I'm going to be up here every day until this thing is concluded. Thank you. Who's next?
Adam?
Good morning. So EPA continues to do air monitoring on the ground in the mobile units. EPA continues to do aspect air overflights over the incident as well as downstream in the communities. We continue to have the Taga bus driving around. After the incident yesterday afternoon, all of our resources were redirected to the north side or the northeast side, and continuous monitoring in that area to determine if there's any impacts. The airplane, the Aspect, had no benzene or VOC detections in the downwind community. The Taga bus didn't have any measurements above 1 part per million in the downwind community. And then the ground resources didn't have any detections in the community above 1 part per million as well. In some of the industrial areas, we did get some hits up to 2 parts per million, but that's a controlled, not public accessible area. And then we also, and so I also have seen the ITC data, and in the community, they directed all their stuff downwind as well during the incident yesterday, and they didn't have any detections in the community of benzene in above 1 part per million. In the industrial area, they did have some hits. It's to be expected. Because of the change in the situation yesterday, prior to yesterday, the oil that was in Tucker Bayou had been contained, and after yesterday, now we have some oil in the Buffalo Bayou and the ship channel. We're assessing, the extent, we're delineating how much oil is out there, but to support that effort, I've tasked and activated the U.S. Coast Guard Gulf Strike Team to mobilize tonight, or last night, and they're going to be here to help me and the Unified Command today. Their primary focus is their specialty, oil spill response on the water. So they'll be working with Unified Command and ITC contractors to clean up the oil in the Houston Ship Channel, excuse me, and then Tucker Bayou, wherever we need it. And also, as yesterday's situation unfolded, we've been in continuous communication with the regional U.S. Coast Guard, and yesterday they came out and we've asked them to kind of join our Unified Command and be part of this response effort and provide some support to us. So with that, we've invited Captain Odit, captain of the port, to join us, and he's going to share kind of an overview from his perspective as well as some other information.
Actually, the TCEQ is going to speak first. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Anthony Buck, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, Emergency Management. TCEQ has been on scene since Sunday. We have been collecting air monitoring data and water samples as part of Unified Command and monitoring the response efforts and requiring cleanup and mitigation activities. Today, we are continuing to collect water samples in the Houston Ship Channel and Galveston Bay and addressing the releases to surface water. This is a priority for TCEQ. We have also mobilized resources from other regional offices, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Harlingen, and contractors to support the Houston Regional Office, as well as full support from our headquarters in Austin, all programs. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Captain Kevin Odit. I'm the Coast Guard Incident Commander, and I'm here in a role to support EPA as the lead federal on-scene coordinator. Our focus at this time is to ensure the safety of our on-scene responders, and also to mitigate any impact to the waterway. And finally, ensuring that the Houston Ship Channel is reopened once it's safe to do so. Earlier in the response, the Unified Command stood up a waterside branch that was focused on Tucker's Bayou and the Houston Ship Channel. The Coast Guard, working with TCEQ and EPA, were overseeing the contracted oil spill response organization as they were engaged in operations to contain and recover the contaminants from the spill. Prior to yesterday's breach, they deployed over 3,000 feet of boom across the outlay, as well as Tucker's Bayou, and also the entrance to Tucker's Bayou into the Houston Ship Channel. They've also had skimmers that have been actively removing the firefighting foam and contaminants. Once the release happened yesterday, that boom was able to contain much of the spill and the contaminants that were mentioned earlier. However, some of the product was able to get by the booms, and the Port of Houston Authority fire boats had detected elevated levels of benzene. Based on that, I made a decision to close the Houston Ship Channel. So we are working with NOAA on spill trajectories. The Port of Houston Authority fire boats continue to do active monitoring, and last night and today they've deployed an additional 5,000 feet of boom for a total of 8,500 feet of boom. Today they're also going and booming off additional sensitive areas. As was mentioned, the battleship Texas, as well as Santa Ana Bayou, which are sensitive areas, had already been boomed off with exclusionary boom to protect those areas. I will reopen the impacted portions of the ship channel once we're able to determine that hazardous conditions no longer exist, and we're able to recover any visible product that is on the waterway. At this time, I do not have an exact timetable for reopening the ship channel. As I mentioned before, our focus will be on the safety of the on-scene responders, mitigating any impact to the waterway, and then reopening the ship channel once we're able to safely do so. Thank you.
I think we're ready to take a few questions.
I've been talking with the community yesterday, and
Can you speak up a little bit?
yeah, I have been talking with the community yesterday, and many of them are terrified. So their question is, why a press conference almost 24 hours later?
That's a really good question. Yesterday was a day of unfolding events. We in Incident Command and Unified Command are working diligently to get the facts. And I will tell you, as you saw that happening, we saw that happening. So it's fast, it's moving quickly, and we're trying our best. Mayor, you may want to make a few comments on that?
Well, on the aspect of in any scenario, I'm just going to comment from my perspective. So, you know, my number one aspect is public safety, especially to my community surrounding. And I would add and validate that in some cases, I was here most of the day yesterday. And if you were in that setting, there was a scenario of not only maximum effort being done, but a reactiveness to something where they were trying to remove the product, which is my main focus. We got to get that dealt with. And when the dike broke, it's concerning to all of us, and it enacted a response, very rapid response. And so the concerns as I'm standing here to you today are valid. I've got them same concerns, but I want them to do their job and address these situations as they occur in any unfortunate pattern that happens. Did that answer your question?
Thank
Can
you
you
so
identify the contaminants that are in the water, like from the product? What are we looking at exactly?
So the contaminants in the water mix are going to be a mixture of the products that were in the tanks before the event occurred, which is primarily in that tank farm: gas blend stocks, naphtha, xylene, and pygas. So it's hard to pinpoint percentages of each of those in the water because of the dynamics of the event and the dynamics of the damage to the vessels. So it'd be difficult for me to give you exact percentages, but those will be the components in the water.
And Brent, when it comes to the consequences of being reactive versus proactive, describe what those are, because yesterday you mentioned emptying the tank would take 8 to 12 hours. Is that still the timeline for that? And just how does the danger just expand when you have to delay it?
So when you transition from proactive to reactive, you basically reset your command strategy, right? So where we were focused on moving the product to primary containment vessels, we had to basically stop all that activity to first and foremost in any incident command, the number one priority is the safety of the people. So when you go from proactive to reactive, you stop to ensure safety, and then once everything is secure from a safety standpoint, you can start transitioning back to proactive. So it didn't necessarily change the overall risk. The situation is very similar to what it was yesterday when I spoke to you at 10 a.m. It just prolonged the timeline to get the product removal out of the tank.
How many barrels remain when it comes? Yesterday you mentioned 20,000 in one tank. I think total 60,000. How much remains, and how much maybe possibly spilled into Tucker Bayou?
I can't give you the estimate on the Tucker Bayou amount. I knew roughly what was in the tank farm yesterday. I told you we haven't been able to calculate exactly how much was still in the containment wall. As far as product removal, we don't have a good gauge on it because we don't have any level instrumentation in that tank because of the damage to the farm.
Right here.
Tammy Lager, NBC Network News. You're saying there's a low health risk to residents, yet you've closed parks and dozens of schools. So what exactly is the danger for residents?
I'm not a medical expert, so I can't really educationally speak to the hazards of the contaminants in the air. You know, ITC's focus is to not emit anything. You know, that's our ultimate goal, is to never have emissions. Unfortunately, during this event, we have had some. My job as incident commander is to do everything we can to ensure the safety of the employees and the safety of the community, and that's really my focus right now, is just minimize the impact to the community going forward.
Perhaps
Can any of the other partners comment on that? Adam Moore.
So in the event, so yesterday the focus was stabilizing the site, and then had we, because we were doing monitoring downwind and in the community, had we come across any hazardous conditions, we would have notified the unified command and got that out to the stakeholders to make decisions. You know, Deer Park to shut down or close schools, shelter in place, or whichever community is, whether it's Channelview, any of those areas. So as soon as we find hazardous situations, we communicate that and get that out to the community.
But these are parks and schools that weren't closed yesterday. They're now being closed today. So
That would be based on the local authorities, us providing information to them. Here's some conditions that were observed, and they made the decision to take active steps to limit public access.
But does that mean that the concern is greater today than it was yesterday?
We haven't, based on, for today, we haven't had any results that showed hazardous conditions in the communities. It could have been out of an abundance of caution by the local government.
Mayor, would you like to?
In the big context, when I left yesterday over at Harris County Management, Harris County Health is monitoring this situation, and I've been in close contact. And there's been very few decisions made in any scenario that hasn't been discussed with Harris County Health Management in regards to how it's impacting the community. The concern today is the same concern I had yesterday, and until this product is out of that holding basing and out of that, there is concern, because anything that's going to be done out there is going to impact it. After I got back yesterday from Harris County Emergency Management, I went up in a helicopter to view the scene yesterday evening right before dark. What their main focus was doing thermal imaging to try to get as accurate of a data of a reading of what's going on in that situation so they can manage it. There's still a lot of heat in there, and it makes it difficult to deal with. But from my perspective as the mayor and the questions I'm asking that you're asking, until all of that is dealt with and gone, there's a certain level of risk. I don't think that's unfair to say that I have concerns with, but in every decision that's being made, obviously, every entity, a local municipality, we're all working together very hard to make sure we minimize that to the best of our ability.
I have a question for residents that are lining up to get their families tested that are feeling symptoms. What would you say to those residents
Their concerns are valid to some extent. We've been working again with Harris County Health, and they've had their mobile units in Deer Park to try to do the best we can to address them situations. It's such a fluid scenario. If you ask me, I wish this event would have been over with days ago. And my focus is, let's get to the end of how do we minimize this risk as quickly as possible. That's why I'm here right now. I'm asking the hard questions in there because I want it done as soon as possible. They can't do it fast enough for me. In any scenario they do, and when I start asking questions, as an example in the last few days, I'm having to ask someone when an engineer is explaining to me what's going, can you explain that to me now, and ask someone else, because it's a very high level technical aspect of what they're dealing with, because from my presumption I don't understand that. I just want it gone. I want it dealt with. I don't want any public health impact any more than what may have already occurred.
I have a question for Brent Weber. Thank you. It sounds like the maximum efficiency that you can pump out is 20,000 barrels in about 12 hours. Is that correct?
With that one pump.
Okay. Can you bring in, do you have the ability to bring in more pumps to get this done quickly?
We do have additional equipment on site. Our main focus was 80-7. We have multiple pumps, but because of the dynamics of the situation, it's a little bit harder to get into some areas of the tank farm compared to 80-7. So we are working multiple plans simultaneously with multiple resources.
Thank you.
Well, that's one of the questions I've been asking, because my perception, we got one pump, why not have 10 pumps, right? From the way I understand it. But there's a lot of dynamics that are way beyond my understanding, simply from the fact of the environment. It's very hard to get people in there. And I'm not speaking as an expert, but my concerns are being asked.
Please ask your question.
Channel 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's now day 7. People at home are frustrated. It's been a roller coaster. We got that first responders are doing all that they can. But these people have been sheltered in place. It's safe. They're not getting transparency early on about what was in the air. What is the worst that could possibly happen? I know that you guys said since there's still chemicals there, you guys don't have everything secure. There's a possibility of maybe something we could tell the public at home. What else can they expect from this site?
What you can expect is for ITC to maintain our focus on the safety of the work area and the incident area, for us to continue working with our agency partners to develop plans with multiple resources for ITC and the Unified Command to use every resource the mayor, the Coast Guard, the EPA, the TCEQ offers me. I've yet to tell somebody no when they've offered me a resource.
But what is the probability of like another fire or another incident?
The key to maintaining the fires is the foam layer. I've told y'all that repeatedly. Yesterday when the tank wall broke, we lost some of the foam layer, which is what we believe led to the fire. So our focus has always been maintain the foam layer, prevent the fire from reoccurring, so we can stay in a proactive mode and not go back to a reactive mode. If you're asking me how many days, I can't give you that answer right now. I wish I could, but I cannot give you that answer
Wait,
right
one
now.
more, because somebody asked 5 questions. Let me get a third. So talk about the waterway. I know that some of the product did spill into the water. Is there a threat to wildlife or anything else in the water?
I think it'd be best for TCEQ to answer that.
Okay, TCEQ started doing water quality sampling on the 19th. That sample turnaround is about 2 or 3 days. We just now got preliminary results. As some folks were saying, it's about everything you would expect from a petrochemical fire. And we've got our experts analyzing the data. And as soon as our preliminary results are up and we're able to get that data quality out there, we're going to put it on our website. And if y'all don't know, TCEQ actually has a page for ITC fire response. And that's where all of our data, both from air quality monitoring and also this water quality samples that should be up to date, that's where everything is going. Just Google ITC TCEQ response, and it's one of the first things that pops up.
Alice, earlier this week I asked you about the number of claims that have been filed through the website. Do you have a number? I never received an answer for that.
No, we do not have a number at this point in time.
Hundreds, thousands, a couple?
I could not tell you.
And then what substantiates a claim then? Could you clarify that for viewers? Is it Is it, I have a headache, I'm going to file a claim? Can you specify what substantiates a claim?
So we are asking anyone who is experiencing any symptoms to file the claim. We're setting up people to start evaluating them, but that's the only information I have right now. So if you are, file the claim.
And when it comes to the Texas Attorney General filing a lawsuit or a petition to file a lawsuit along with the governor, what's ITC's response to that?
I don't believe I'm allowed to really discuss active litigation. Next question.
I had a question for Brent. Brent, I spoke with the mother of a guy who was working on the site yesterday. She said he relayed to her when the fire started, they were very scared and they were surprised for a moment. They felt they were trapped on the site. Can you describe to what degree the reignition was a surprise and explain precisely what risk to crew members on the site there was at that time?
Okay, let me answer the first one. Was the fire a surprise? In some regards, the fire was a surprise. However, we had equipment staged. We had been maintaining the foam layer the best we could in the tank farm to prevent the chances of reoccurrence. Once the foam layer was basically taken away from the containment wall breach, we were focused on getting the foam layer established as quickly as we possibly could, but that's when the fire reignited. So we have the equipment's there, the foam's there, we have firefighters, we have every firefighting resource in the area, including SEMA responders who have done a magnificent job. We have third-party firefighters on scene that are doing a magnificent job, and ITC responders on scene that continue just to really work hard to mitigate this.
And what about that risk, though? You didn't answer that part. What was the risk to them at the time of the reignition?
The risk of fighting a fire, I'm not a firefighter, right? The risk of fighting a fire is the same when you fight any fire, you know. Industrial fires are just like any other fire. Those guys are trained. You know, we train our employees, the SEMA guys are trained, third-party contractors are trained. Probably it'd be best to speak to a firefighting expert to talk about the hazards of fighting a fire.
So after yesterday's fire, how many tanks now need to be drained?
The same number of tanks need to be drained as yesterday. But we have refoamed the entire tank farm. We've refoamed every tank. We've done it multiple times through the night, and we will continue to foam the tank farm and the tanks.
When you see the wind blowing like this right now, obviously wind shifting creates danger. What is your concerns regarding weather? Because wind's obviously picking up at the moment.
We have additional firefighting foam equipment apparatus set up around the perimeter to address the wind. We've been talking about that all morning, making sure we're on top of the wind, the weather, and we will continue to stage equipment and additional equipment as we need to.
Do you guys know what's starting this? Are you any more closer to figuring that out?
No, we do not. The investigation will reveal that.
Forecast for rain on Monday, will that affect foam? How will the rain affect your efforts for foam layer?
Rain is one of the things that affects the foam layer. I think we covered that yesterday. If you can imagine, you have a foam barrier, drops of rain are hitting it, it will take the foam layer. It's just like every day, just keep the foam spraying. Keep the foam spraying.
Any other questions?
When it comes to the Coast Guard and just the water safety aspect of it, people are near parks. Obviously parks have been closed down, but people still get down there. What's the immediate response to people's water concerns regarding drinking the water, just being out there, whatever it may be?
I'll talk to the commercial side, and then I'll turn it over to Mayor to talk about drinking water. So yesterday, as I mentioned, I closed the port. We also suspended cargo operations on the opposite side of ITC docks from Cargill to CMEX facilities because we're concerned with the elevated benzene levels. So that's the biggest concern right now. And then we're advising them to adhere their local authorities' guidance in terms of shelter in place as well. So out of an abundance of caution, we're concerned not only about the on-scene responders, but also the crew members that are on and the workers that are in the port and the community.
So your question, I missed some of it, was specifically for the waterways where it's going out?
Or just water safety before we're seeing this stuff roll into waterways?
So again, I can only address what we're doing in the city of Deer Park, and we started water testing was probably Wednesday or Thursday, which takes about 3 days, and so we're spitting that information out in regards to the city of Deer Park. I can't comment to any other ones, but I know there is that same pattern going on throughout the region, where any kind of testing in regards to assuring the public safety that our drinking water and our air is being done. In some aspects, I can only control to some extent what's going on in the city of Deer Park. But that effort is being made, I can assure you, because I've been on calls every day with all the local municipalities around here in the Harris County, and everyone's doing the same pattern in regards to addressing them concerns.
Real quick, just someone with ITC, what would you say your number one concern is about what could happen later today in the next 24 hours?
Our number one concern the entire time is going to be the safety of the responders and the safety of the people working around the area. I can't, you know, I think about unknowns and I can think about things that happen, and that's part of my job as incident commander, is I got to think ahead of people with the help of my agency support, who have been tremendous, to think about what could happen and what my plan is to deal with that. So our number one concern is safety. It will continue to be safety. That's our first goal as a company, and that's our first core value. And Adam, every morning EPA always says, the main focus is safety, 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 safety. So we will do whatever we can to make sure people are safe.
Anyone have any more questions? We have a press release that you're welcome to have a copy of.
What's your next tomorrow, same time?
We're going to put an alert out that tells you exactly when it will be. We're discussing it internally right now. Thank you all for getting the information out. Thank you all for getting accurate information out. We appreciate the time you're taking to spend with us. Thank you.
This gentleman right over there with the red lanyard on his jacket.
Claro.
¿No podríamos?
Hay peligros